Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Lamplight City, the steampunk-ish detective adventure game. My name is Darwin and I play video games, and I am thoroughly enjoying this game right here. I highly recommend it. It harkens back to an older age of adventure gaming, point-and-click interfaces, and it's just a lot of fun, a wonderful story. So we are Miles Fordham here, and we are currently on a case, the Purloined Progeny. We're trying to find the infant son of Charles Harris, and right here we need to find out who or what SS is and speak with Arthur Devens at the Harris Construction Yard, and also need to find Roland the musician. So we just talked to Chester LeFay here and learned that he has the same coat as Mr. Charles Harris. So before we go over to the construction yard, we're going to go back over to the Harris residence. I'm going to turn down that sound volume. That's really loud there. I'm supposed to be the loudest here. Welcome to the Harris residence. I'm just here to check your closet, sir. That coat looks kind of similar, but I think we saw one in the closet. Let's go back into the wardrobe here. We're gonna look at this.
You don't suppose...
I do suppose.
How about that?
It matches the piece of torn fabric perfectly.
So, this means...
It could mean many things. The only thing that's certain is that a piece of this jacket ended up on the floor of the nursery.
Seems like something worth asking Mr. Harris about.
I agree. So let's go chat with him, shall we? Oh, Mr. Harris.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
Tell me about your torn jacket!
Mr. Harris, do you recall the torn piece of fabric I found in the nursery?
Yes, what about it?
As it turns out, one of the jackets in your wardrobe has a tear exactly the same size and shape as this one. Would you care to tell me how that happened?
That can't be.
I'm afraid it is, so explain it.
I have no explanation. The truth is, I haven't worn that jacket in weeks. I've no idea how it was torn.
Are you suggesting someone else took your jacket and wore it when the child was taken?
I don't know. Perhaps someone is trying to make it look as though I... But that's absurd. Why would I kidnap my own son?
Why indeed, Mr. Harris.
You really think he kidnapped his own son, Miles? Seems more likely he was set up. But he also doesn't strike me as a terribly good parent. Maybe it would serve him right to be blamed for this. We've done our part. The police can handle the search for the missing baby.
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right.
I disagree. I'm not going to accuse Malcolm Harris. We learned last time, when these are still here, we haven't actually figured it out. So we have lots and lots to do here. So we're going to go to the construction yard.
Well, someone certainly wasn't shy about making their opinion known.
Oh my goodness, his background sound.
Harris and his cronies? No!
I don't know why, it resets the sound volume all the time. If I have one complaint about this game, it's that. So we have...
Don't these people have jobs they need to go to? But the way this gate is set up, I think trespassers should get an award for being able to breach the fortress.
2 men!
Elect Hart Leroy, the man of the people. I think that's preaching to the choir around here. I suddenly remembered a joke. What's the difference between the HMS Lenore and Chief Snelling? One is a greatly disliked and untrustworthy sack of hot air, and the other is the HMS Lenore.
Ah. You. Talk to me.
Pardon me, are you Arthur Devens by any chance?
Yes? Who are you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. Could I ask you a few questions?
Guess so, yeah.
You seem very dedicated to your cause.
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a lot of people who are against steam tech, aren't there?
Yes, the movement is gaining ground and growing rapidly, I'm pleased to say.
I've heard stories about some more extreme members. Do you know anything about that?
You mean the Redites? Sure, I've heard of them. Even met a few. But if you think I'm telling you anything else beyond that, you're sorely mistaken.
Are you a member of the Redites, Mr. Devens?
No, I prefer more peaceful methods of making my voice heard. Now, if you don't mind, I think we should drop the subject.
Why are you out here protesting?
Because what Harris Construction is doing ain't right. I lost my wife in the Lygia crash, and I'm not the only one, neither. Hundreds of people were affected by that disaster, and now these bastards are making another airship. It's like a slap in the face to everyone who died. I just can't understand it.
What do you hope to accomplish by protesting?
Simple. We want construction of the Lenore stopped, and a full investigation into the Lygia disaster. Not only that, we want compensation for our losses. Royal Maverick took care of all the families of those on board, but the families of the ones in the park didn't get a single copper. It just isn't fair. We aim to make things right. After that, it'll just be a matter of time before people realize that there's no future in steam tech, and they'll call the whole thing off.
Ah, the innocence of the downtrodden. I wish I could be as naive as them. It would have made my life a lot easier.
You must have loved your wife very much.
Are you joking? I loved her more than there are stars in the sky. She was my whole world, Mr. Fordham, the light of my life. It's been nothing but cold and dark since she was killed. You're married, aren't you, Mr. Fordham? I see a ring on your finger.
I am, yes.
Then take my advice. Appreciate every moment you have with her. You never know when she'll be ripped out of your life, leaving you with nothing.
You know, this fellow was actually pretty wise. Maybe we misjudged him.
Do you recognize this letter, Mr. Devons?
How'd you get that? That wasn't meant for you.
I found it at the home of Mr. Malcolm Harris. He tells me you've been sending quite a few of these to his father.
Me and everyone else what had someone killed by that devil machine. I'm not the only one, you know.
Perhaps not, but he told me you were the most persistent. What have you got against the Harris family?
The family? Don't know nothing about the family. The only one I got a problem with is Clyde Harris, the one who owns this yard. He's just like all those other rich bastards with their heads in the clouds. The man don't care about the dead. He just wants to make as much money as he can. I'm just trying to make him realize how wrong he is.
Do you recognize this button?
Can't say I do, but it looks handmade. I wonder how long it will be before the poor soul who crafted that button gets booted into the street and replaced with some steam-belching contraption.
Ah, yes. Replacing the workforce with machines.
Does this piece of fabric look familiar to you?
Looks like it came from some fancy jacket, the type you'd expect to see on the snobs in Leon. I could never afford clothes like that in a million years.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
Charles Harris? Who's that?
Clyde Harris's grandson.
I didn't even know we had a grandson. I can't believe someone with a grandkid, a family, would want more flying death in the air. How many more people have to die before someone realizes that steam machines are evil? People will kill their own mams for a crown these days.
I'm really believing that this guy had nothing to do with this.
Do you practice voodoo, Mr. Devons?
What?
The chicken bones and dust you send along with your letters. It's a voodoo spell meant to cause bad luck in business. Quite a convenient solution, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're on about.
Come now, Mr. Devons. I'd appreciate it if you didn't think I was stupid.
All right, fine. I went to go see one of them magic women in Gascon. She told me about the spell and what I needed to do. I don't believe in the stuff, but I thought maybe if I used it, I could scare Harris enough to get him to stop making the new airship.
Well, I don't mean to be one to put a damper on your amateur witchcraft, but it doesn't seem to be doing you much good.
No, his grandson got kidnapped. That's not something I'd call lucky.
Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
Huh. Why do they make that so loud?
Time has come to reject steam machines. They take our
All right.
jobs, they take our family.
So, Spectre Society, Lending Office, Construction Yard. We haven't gotten anything new. Well, let's see. Please stop resetting.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
How's work going?
Hectic as usual. Crime in this city seems to be getting worse and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out, or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
Other case. Is that our first one?
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer on our hands.
You don't say.
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say. But so far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months. Snelling is trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes.
But I have a feeling that we're going to be involved in that one before too long.
Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
I found this torn piece of fabric at the crime scene. It's got an emblem with some initials on it.
I recognize that emblem. It's from Solomon Stitching, a little tailor shop in Lyon. My ex-husband had several jackets from there.
Sorry to dredge up old memories, but do you remember where they're located?
I believe it's on the corner of Bonneville Street and Surratt Avenue.
Fantastic. You're helpful as always, Upton.
Alright, new location.
I found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No, the kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, the Harris family nanny.
A sensible place to start. What did she have to say?
She claims to have been unconscious when the kidnapping took place.
She must be an extremely heavy sleeper.
I don't believe so. The way she described it made it sound like she was drugged.
Interesting. Definitely worth looking into, I'd say.
Can we check the tea in the house?
Have you ever heard of the Spectre Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
A spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead. Are you familiar with the term metempsychosis?
No, what is it?
Apparently some mystics and philosophers maintain that it's a process whereby human and animal souls are transferred to new bodies upon death.
Fascinating. Some people have such queer ideas. What's that got to do with the kidnapping, though?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Sometimes I'm jealous of all the odd things you detectives get to look into.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay.
That's it, I think.
Then you'd better get back to it.
Alright, so what we're going to do now is we are going to go back to the Harris residence real quick. See if we can check the tea.
Oh, Mr. Fordham. Oh, thank God you're back.
What's going on?
Our butler just brought this in. He found it stuck to the gate outside.
Harris family, we have your son. If you ever want to see him again, you must stop building the new airship. We are not joking. And if we look at it, casebook. Oh, we can't go back and see if it was the same. Kind of looked like the same handwriting.
It's nice to see that tea is still served here even in times of tragedy.
Okay, so we can't do anything with the tea service, but I still think that that's something important. I didn't want to do that. Ah!
I have some questions.
Yes, of course.
What is your opinion of this ransom note?
It's obvious who sent it, Mr. Fordham. Why are you wasting your time here? Go arrest Mr. Devons!
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right.
We won't stand for this injustice any longer.
Mr. Devons?
Yes?
Mr. Devons, what can you tell me about this note?
I've never seen that before in my life.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely. It's as I told you. I had nothing to do with that boy's kidnapping. I didn't even know he existed until you told me. Remember?
Yeah. And that note conveniently showed up right after you had that conversation. Let him stew in his own lies. His unique way of spelling is all the evidence we need to tie him to the note.
Very well, Mr. Devons. Forget I asked. Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
This Arthur Devons Joker is bad news. Not only is he making threats to the Harris family, he also has the nerve to send a ransom note. We have enough evidence to pin the crime on him, I think. The police can deal with the headache of actually finding the baby.
So we have another suspect, but we're here to find the baby. So to Solomon Stitching we go.
Good day to you, sir. Welcome to Solomon Stitching. I'm Jonah Solomon. Please let me know if I can help you with anything.
Quite the selection, but I doubt the typical clientele of this place buys off the rack. That coat is so dull. I always prefer the ones with a bit more color. The design of that coat looks awfully familiar.
It does, doesn't it?
Isaac Samuels, the prime minister who freed the slaves. They say even his enemies wept on the day he died. I sure hope I get to meet him someday.
It's interesting. It's a popular coat. Do we actually know that the coat in the closet is his coat and not switched out?
This guy has been in business forever. My grandmother had one like that. I think it was meant to be relaxing, but it always felt like my time was running out. Now that it has, well, it actually is relaxing. Go figure.
Thanks, Bill.
That cloth will be a garment soon. A vest, by the looks of it. Or maybe I'm completely wrong, and it's a treasure map.
Alright, let's talk to Mr. Solomon.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes, sir. How may I be of service? Oh, let me guess. You're looking to replace that old coat. It looks like it's got quite a few stories it could tell me.
You should listen to the man, Miles. He clearly knows what he's talking about.
Not today, I'm afraid. There's still a few more stories it has left to tell. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions? Very well, but if they aren't about tailoring, I don't know how much help I'll be.
Tell me about yourself.
How did you get into this business, Mr. Solomon?
I was always good with a needle and thread. When I was a boy in Poland, I would help my mother with her sewing. Then, during the war with Russia, I fixed uniforms and stitched up wounds. Not long after that, I moved to Vespuccia, settled here in New Bretagne. My first shop was in the Chum, but thankfully, I was very successful and was able to move to Lyon. I won't lie to you, this location is much, much nicer. It's refreshing to not have to step over drunken hobos when I open and close the shop.
Oh, but that's part of the charm of owning a business in the Chum.
Not much else to say beyond that. My business is my life.
You seem very dedicated to your craft.
That's right. You won't see any of that newfangled steam-powered nonsense in here. Everything is done by hand and with care. I use only the finest quality materials and stitch every thread myself. And that's the way it's gonna stay as long as I'm around. It's worked for 45 years. There's no reason to change as far as I'm concerned.
So he's against Steam too.
This is a nice shop you have. I never even knew it existed.
Well, better late than never, I always say. Life has a funny way of always taking us where we need to go in the end.
True. Although I think it's easy to miss out on things from time to time.
Oh, of course. It's easy to overlook the details, but in the grand scheme of things, you'll end up where you need to be. And in this case, you ended up here. So, please, feel free to take a look around. Let me know if you find anything you like.
I found this piece of torn fabric with your emblem on it. Can you tell me anything about it?
Yes. Brown, wool, houndstooth. This is from one of the more popular jackets I sell.
And here I thought my ability to name ales within 5 seconds of tasting them was good. This fella has me beat.
Do you have any of them in stock currently?
Well, sure, I've got one on the display dummy over there.
Is there any way you can tell me who you've sold them to?
Oh, I don't think so. I've sold at least 20 in the past month. As I said, it's a very popular style.
That doesn't go anywhere.
Is there anything you can tell me about this button?
Looks like it's made of wood, not very well crafted either. Definitely not from one of my products.
I'll be taking my leave of you now, Mr. Solomon.
Very good.
Did we get anything in there?
Come to think of it, I have seen plenty of people wearing that design. No tears in this one, though. Impressive collection of pattern books. I wish I'd known about this guy when I was alive. I'd have asked him to make me a suit for my funeral. Judging from the position and the lock, this is likely where Mr. Solomon keeps his money.
Is there anything else in here? Investigate Solomon stitching, but that doesn't give us anything.
Quite the selection. Come to think of it.
Alright, we haven't been home for a while. Let's go check that.
Hey, Addie. Here I am.
Welcome home.
Newspaper. Laura Dupre falsely reported dead. Okay, that was our last case there. So, we failed this one, right? And I went back and there's a video posted that you can watch the right ending. And although the suspect was arrested, new evidence has revealed his innocence. The new suspect who's yet to be identified was believed to be someone closely related to the family. Yeah, funny. Protest at Air Shipyard continues. Prime Minister's re-election got touch blame for brewery explosion. Nothing there. Alright, well, I think we're going to leave it here. Not quite sure where we need to go, but I don't really think that we're ready to accuse anyone because we need to find that Roland guy. So maybe Adelaide will have something that can help us out. So, if you've liked this video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel, support the content that we're doing, enjoy it all, check out my catalog, and my name is Darwin. I will see you on the flip side.